Okay, good morning. Welcome. My name is Matt Thompson. I'm the Public Affairs Officer at the American Consulate in Yekaterinburg, and welcome to English You Can Use, our weekly live streaming broadcast where you can learn to make your English just a little more interesting. It's not the most practical advice always, but it makes it more interesting. So, how's everybody feeling today? Nice to see everybody. Shout outs to Yelena and Tanya and Konstantin and Anastasia and Vikrant. Really glad to see you all again this week. You know, there's a saying, there's an American phrase, I don't know if it's British, that says right now we are in the dog days of summer. Does anybody know that phrase, dog days of summer? It's kind of when you're at the end of summer when it's warm and you feel kind of lazy and time kind of goes more slowly. I think this happens in the US where it gets really hot. But I remember in late July, early August, this was the time where, it's hard to get a lot done. That's how I feel right now. With the pandemic continuing and kind of the hot weather, although it's really nice now. It's the dog days are here, but we will get through them. So, hello, Elena. Nice to see you. So, we have a great program today. I put together, I think, an interesting presentation. We have a really interesting guest, Dmitry Zakarlyukin from Chelyabinsk. He's an eco-activist and social entrepreneur. So that'll be really fun. And I have a question for you. I want to know how we can help you with your English. English is so important to so many people around the world. And we at the U.S. Consulate in Yekaterinburg want to find ways to help you. And so at some point during the broadcast, I'm really going to ask you this question, and I want to hear your input. I want to listen. So let's get started with our presentation today. And I changed up the format, try to make it a little more interesting for you. And we're going to talk first of all about places in the U.S. that I think you should visit. We're going to talk about idioms connected to nature. We're also going to talk about something called homographs or heteronyms. This is about pronunciating words. They look the same, but they're pronounced differently. And then, of course, our interview. But I'm going to talk to you about 5 small towns that you may or may not have heard of, but if you went to the U.S., I would really hope you could visit them. And again, this program, you know everything about Miami and New York and Hollywood and Chicago and Washington, but I want to share a little bit about the places that you might not have heard of, but are really, really interesting. So, and last week you gave me some great suggestions of places to visit in Russia. Thank you so much. Last weekend I went to way far away out to Lake Chartage. It took me almost 2 years to visit it. I don't know why I didn't go, but I had a nice time walking around the lake and it was very pretty. But let's get to talking about the U.S. So the first place I want to talk about is Telluride, Colorado. Has anybody heard of this place? Well, as you can see, it's gorgeous. It's spectacular. It's in the mountains in the more southern part of Colorado. It's a famous ski place, but it used to be a small mining town, I believe, 100 years ago, and they've kept the old buildings intact. And this has become famous because of the Telluride Film Festival. And they bring all these big stars. Most notably, I think Tom Cruise bought a cabin or bought a house there, and he goes there every year. So Telluride, if you can go to Telluride, it's definitely worth it. I have a family member who lives very close to there. She's lived there for 30, 40 years. I've not been personally, but I still want to go. Second is Walla Walla, Washington. I'm going to move my head here so I don't cut off the comments. Walla Walla, Washington, that's where I'm from. It's a small town, 30,000 people. I really suggest you try to go there. If you ever go to Seattle, or you're looking for a place to try really good wine, go to Walla Walla. It's really quaint, cute, sympatichna, as you probably would say in Russian. It's a very nice place to be. So I'm going to help my old friends back in Walla Walla promoting the town. Number 3, Sedona, Arizona. Sedona is stunning. I lived near here for a few years, and it was a really special place. If you go to Phoenix or the Grand Canyon, make sure you stop by Sedona. It is in this beautiful area with these red rocks you can see, and the houses are built all around them. There's a nice little downtown, nice restaurants. It's a beautiful place to live, almost perfect weather year-round. It's not too hot and it's not too cold. So Sedona's one of those. There's a lot about Sedona that it's in this zone where there's positive energy and you can heal, and it's a spiritual place. And 4, Camden, Maine. Now, I want to go to Camden because I've never been to Maine. And Camden is one of these famous small towns. I think there's only 4,000 or 5,000 people most of the year. But in the summertime, it doubles or triples its population. And lots of people from New York and Boston and Philadelphia go up to Camden to spend the summer. You can see it's really quaint, again, beautiful. It's right on the water, so it has beaches. You can take harbor rides in the boat. You can eat fresh seafood, lobster up in Maine. So if you ever get up to the Northeast, I would highly recommend going to Camden. It's a really nice little town. And then lastly, Annapolis, Maryland. So if you get to go to Washington, D.C., take the trip out to Annapolis. It's totally different than Washington. It's you can see really colorful buildings, a nice little downtown, good live music. They have their specialty, I think most of the year, is soft shell crab. That's this, well, it's like what it says. It's a type of crab that's harvested from the Chesapeake Bay, and it's really pretty. And also the U.S. Naval Academy is there. That's a really fine institution, and it has beautiful campus and facilities. So Annapolis, keep that in mind. So before we get this, I want to make sure I'll ask our audience, where should I visit in Sverdlovsk Oblast? A lot of you had great suggestions last week, but if there's any more you have, I'd love to hear them. And when it's safe to go out and see them, I want to learn more about maybe some smaller villages or some pretty natural wonders. So right now we're going to talk about, I'm going to move my head here, and I'm going to, so you don't have to look at that. Words, heteronyms. They're words that are spelled the same but pronounced differently. So I'm going to use a couple examples so then you can know what I'm talking about. So, does everybody know this word? Are you sure you know it? Is it live? As I've had here, rhymes with give. It means to be alive, right? Is there another way you can pronounce it? Of course there is. Live. So there's live and there's live. So right now, we're in Na Primoje Efire. We are live. We are alive. So this is a tricky word. You have to know where it is in context in the sentence to know whether it's live or live. So I think everybody knows this if you're an advanced or an intermediate speaker. But here's another one. Close. Close, you know this word probably. It means the opposite of open. Zakrita. Closed. But it can also be close. So close is bliska, right? Or radimsa. So it's spelled exactly the same, but the S changes from close to close. So keep that in mind when you're looking. This might be really elementary, but there's a couple other harder ones. So we have dove, which is a white pigeon, basically. You know, when we have peace, we have a white dove. I think that's golub, is that right, in Russian? Tell me if I'm right or wrong, okay? But there's also a verb tense, a verb that looks exactly like that. And that is dove or dived. It's the non-standard form of the past tense of the verb to dive. So you can dove or dove. All right. Now, here's a harder one. So this is, I'm going to pronounce it correctly, graduate. Graduate. And that's a person who earns an academic degree. You can say you're a graduate if you graduated from Ural Federal University. I am a graduate. Or I think I have the right. This is the verb of it. Graduate. Hear the difference? Graduate and graduate. Think about the verb ate, which is the past tense to eat. Then you'll know. He graduated from Ural Federal University. But if we go back, look at the old one, it's graduate. So this can be just a little confusing in the pronunciation. So graduate, graduate. Понятно? Okay, let's move on. All right, here's another one. Project. Everybody knows this. Project. Project. Easy? Everybody knows this. Now, but let's go to the verb. The verb is actually pronounced to project. Project. So now project goes to project. That means to estimate or to guess or forecast something. So, for example, I project that many people will improve their English after this program. Does that make sense? But we are working on a project. Okay. Hello, Nuria. Nice to see you. Okay, nice to see you. Sorry, my face has covered up some of the comment for you. All right, so remember that. Project is the noun. Project is the verb. So I'm going to take off I'm going to disappear here. We're going to do some idioms that are connected with plants and flowers and trees because today we have an eco activist and environmentalist with us. So I thought we should learn some phrases connected to ecology. So let's start with an easy one. To beat around the bush. All right. So you can see here on the screen, to delay or avoid talking about something that's difficult or unpleasant. To avoid something. So I have a sentence right up there, and this is how people would use it. They'd say, oh, come on, stop beating around the bush and just tell me what you want. Right? Does that make sense? So Elena has a question here going back to our pronunciation. So the pronunciation meaning depends on the part of speech. It can. Very true. Very true. So remember this one, beat around the bush. You know what a bush is. It means just to avoid something. And that example right there is a perfect way to use it in a sentence. Just tell me what you want. Quit beating around the bush. Okay, let's go with hit the hay. So hit the hay is a very colloquial term to fall asleep. So you can see my sentence. I was so tired last night. I hit the hay around 8:30 p.m. And hay, I don't know this in Russian, but hay is the stuff you feed to horses. You grow it in the field. So it has to do, I don't know exactly why you'd hit the hay. I guess you'd fall, maybe in the old days you could fall and fall asleep in the haystack. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Vakruk daokala. Is that, maybe that's what it is. Is that what beating around the bush means, Darina? Thank you for sharing that. It might be right. Maybe somebody from our audience can tell us. To come up smelling roses or to come up roses. This is a good one to use. It's a little old-fashioned. but it means to emerge or come from a situation in a favorable way or in a good way. So everything was coming up roses until the pandemic hit our city. Does that make sense? Or this year, everything came up roses for me. Roses they smell good, that's what it comes from. All right. Next one, really common one. You might hear in movies, or you might hear Americans say, out of the woods. So it means just to be out of danger or out of a problem. So I was sick for a while, but now it looks like I'm out of the woods. Very common phrase, out of the woods. Means to get out of a problem. And it's usually related to sickness or with something you're struggling with. That makes sense? I'm going to leave these up there. I don't want to go. I'll try to post this as a PDF later on, and I can do it on Vkontakte, but it's harder on Facebook. So if you want to see this presentation and use it later on, you're more than welcome. And, this is a good one. So, barking up the wrong tree. So first of all, you need to know bark. That could be bark, the skin of a tree, or barking means like a dog barks. It means to completely misunderstand something. So, I use this as an example. There should be quotations around it, but I didn't steal your money. You're barking up the wrong tree. Usually we'll hear police officers in movies or people talking to police, like, you're barking up the wrong tree. I didn't do it. Or let me another example, like, if you think I'm going to do your work for you, you're barking up the wrong tree. Does that make sense? It's a good one to use. It kind of make your English really rich, and you have to. It's a very specific situation where you use this, but come on. So that's the end of my presentation, but I wanted to maybe start leaving some quotes from American authors and maybe some inspirational people. So Mark Twain once said, the secret to getting ahead is getting started. Понятно? If you want to be good at something, just do it now. Start trying. And I think that's really good for English, and I take it to heart with my Russian. You just got to sit down and start reading, or you got to start speaking to people. And so those are my words of wisdom. So now I'd like to welcome our special guest. I think he's on. Dmitry, are you here? You turn on your camera?
Yep, I'm here.
You can turn on your camera? Okay.
Yeah.
There he is. Okay, welcome, Dmitry.
Hello. Oh.
Whoops. All the way from Chelyabinsk, our neighbor to the south.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us to talk a little bit about your English learning experience and also what you do. You are an eco-activist. You're a social entrepreneur. And so tell me a little bit about what you're working on right now during the pandemic and what kind of work you do in general.
Oh, it's a very difficult question because the ecology context is huge. My professional skills, maybe competition. I'm working most of all in the way of recycling the waste. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal for me. It's like that big idea, mm-hmm. Which involving me to a world of ecology, because really I'm not the eco-scientist or ecologist mm-hmm. graduated
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right, correct.
You're not a graduate of ecology. Like you didn't study it in school, right?
Right. I'm just a man who didn't care. Who not how to say it. Don't care about it. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
So yeah. This is a big part of my work. I'm creating the infrastructure for separating the municipal waste and recycling it. I'm following to zero waste because it's true. It's very difficult, but I'm very close. For that time, I suppose it's probably about I'm recycling. I'm recycling about 85% of all kind of municipal waste.
Wow.
And it's a huge number because in Russia right now we're recycling less than 2% of all the waste.
Wow.
Yeah. The second way branch, not the way branch for us, it's big struggle for clean air because Chelyabinsk is a city in which we had a lot of factories steel producing and other types. They had a big legacy from these factories and have the ecological problem because of it.
Yeah.
So I made the public monitoring air monitoring system when everybody could join and see what situation, what exactly right now the air quality behind the window, and no one can tell us that the air is good, then it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, I know you participated in an exchange program that works with the State Department. It's through the State Department, and you went to the U.S. for approximately 3 weeks, I think, or 4 maybe.
Yeah.
And so you worked with professionals and other NGO leaders there on some of these issues. But I was curious, what was strange to you, something that surprised you about American culture that you didn't know about before that?
Yeah. I said you one thing earlier, but I will say right now about the other thing. Because I think it's interesting for me as a professional. It was interesting for me that the environment or ecological activists in US came to a struggle for their aims, and they wasn't professionals at that time, but in the evolution of their struggle, they became the professionals much more than people who are working in some agencies, ecological, and they became the people who giving some services to a government in ecological way. this case give me a good advice that I should do like that, because I understood that I should become professional, not just the eco-terrorist. I don't know who.
I don't think you're that. No.
yeah. Who just say and stop the factories. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
But I should become a professional who could give advices or consultations for the government. And I became this kind of specialist right now, and I'm often give some consultations to our Ministry of Ecology and government. Yeah.
Wonderful. How have you?
And the thing that I was surprised and wondered in US about what a lot of people in US. Not picking off the shoes, then they came home. It's very strange for us, for Russian people, because
yeah, that's true. I think not all Americans do this. Some take off their shoes inside the house, but if you watch American television shows, and you'll see a sitcom, a comedy. You often see Americans inside the apartment or the house wearing their shoes. And I know that doesn't really happen in Russia or many other countries around the world. But so I will say that is true. Although my wife is one of the no shoes in the house. But other families know.
And what about you, Matt? Are you taking off the shoes in Russia?
I take my shoes off here, yes. Yes, I am... I guess a little part of me is Russian now. I don't do it. So, how have you used English in your professional career? I assume you have to talk to a lot of people internationally, and
right.
And also, how are you improving your English?
Right now I have a little shy because I haven't practiced in English. I don't know, almost half of year because of pandemic. It's a little bit scared for me.
It's a little scary.
Yeah. But it's okay. And you're right, and Mark Twain right. When you are talking about, if you want to learn something, you just should to start it, to try it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, the English is very useful for me, and I don't know what I've done or what how to say it, what to do if I don't know it, because a lot of people in all the world in our ecological net have the same problem as we, and they have some forums and other kind of meetings. Then the telling to each other what are we doing in our struggle, and they have a lot of partners in other countries, and I don't know if the new generation not learning the English, I don't know how they will live in new world which are in which everybody connected through internet, other services, but I suppose that in not so far future we would speak in our language, in our natural language, and our gadgets will translate it with voice to the language our partner. Yeah.
It's happening already, and it's fairly good. But I think in my presentation, you can tell that sometimes words can be just the same,
Yeah,
but
you're
so
right.
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do that in Russian all the time, where I have a word I think is slova and slava. They look the same, well, almost the same. They sometimes do, but
Right.
and
But and for me, I just want to tell about it more. There, my English is my ticket to a professional society. Yep, in all the world. It's very important for me. I have a lot of moving all through the world, and every time I need to communicate with people and to. It's maybe in the business case or social cases or ecological cases. Every time I need to say something, and if my partner opponent not understanding me, so we can't make a deal.
yeah, you need to. And someone from our audience, Nuria, said you need language to communicate and to exchange ideas and to read necessary literature sometimes.
Right, and read.
And
right.
I totally agree with her on that. Well, thank you so much for joining us and telling us more about what you're doing right now. And I hope I can make it down to Chelyabinsk soon. It's been a long time, but I hope you and your family are well. And thank you for sharing your experience with English. And I hope we can see you again soon.
Thank you so much. Take care of you. Take care of your family. And I say to your children, learn English.
Okay. All right. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So, thank you. That was really great to have Dmitry join us. He's a really nice person, and he's one of the great people I get to meet when I travel throughout the region. When I did get to travel throughout Western Siberia and the Urals. So I have a question here. You can see this on the map, and if you're still watching, I have one question for you. How can we help you with your English? And I want you to maybe either put it in the comments or send me a direct message privately. What do you need most help with? Or maybe you know others, if you're a teacher, what do your students need most? Is it speaking practice, real speaking practice? Is it resources? I always like to think the people who are the best way to learn how you can help somebody is just to ask. And at the U.S. consulate, we here in Yekaterinburg, that's what one of our a big part of our work is helping people with English and connecting people. And as you heard, Dmitry connects with English to many people outside of Russia to work on various projects, because there's people in the United States, there's people in Europe where we have the same issues we're working on. Nuria says, bring back meetings, please. Well, when we can meet in public, in person again, we will try. Okay. So, as I want to remind everybody, if you haven't already if you're not following us already, please do on Facebook or Vkontakte or YouTube. We have all our videos go to YouTube, so I would really subscribe there. And if you have any comments or questions and you want to say, Matt, I like your program, but you need to do this, please write me. And I'll be happy to try to help you and try to correct and change the format. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Please take care of yourself out there. If you can, wear a mask. Stay away from people, at least a distance, comfortable distance. And I hope we can all see each other again soon, in person, very soon. Talk to you later. Всего доброго. Желаю вам хороший день. No, дня. I've even forgot my Russian. Я забыл. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.